Welcome back. This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. All right. Last night on Monday, September 16th, Sean Combs, Diddy, Puff Daddy, Brother Love. He goes by many names. We all know him. The man was arrested and indicted on sex trafficking, racketeering, and kidnapping charges in New York City. Okay. These are federal charges. If you've been following social media, you've seen Puff has been around New York, just in the streets of New York a lot lately. According to his lawyer, they knew that these charges were coming. He came up to New York to cooperate and, was arrested without incident. So they knew this was coming. This was no surprise to Puff and his team, okay? On Tuesday, earlier today, Puff appeared in court and he pled not guilty, all right? And though his attorneys they were looking for a $50 million bail, that was denied. Puff is currently being held without bail, all right? Prosecutors believe that if allowed bail, Puff will intimidate witnesses, and witnesses that they interview or that they claim to have interviewed have expressed fear. All right. Prosecutors claim that Diddy's former artist, Kalena Harper, that he called her 54 times the day before she made a statement on his behalf about a recent lawsuit that they were named in. This was the lawsuit by Don Richard about a week ago was filed, and Kalena was in Diddy Dirty Money with her. She was part of the Dirty Money part of Diddy Dirty Money, and so they're saying that Puff called her 54 times before she released a statement about the Don Richard lawsuit. Prosecutors are saying he's dangerous, he's a flight risk, and he can intimidate witnesses. So Puff is being held without bail. Now, and I'm no legal expert, so we're going to go through this together. I'm going to tell you what I know and what I don't know. I do have the indictment. I downloaded it. I read through it. I mean, these sound like RICO charges. Once you put racketeering in it, the RICO statute, the Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations, the RICO Act, that was used to take down the Italian mob, the mafia in the 70s and 80s. For example, they used the RICO to get John Gotti and other members of the Gambino crime family. So they're using this here, you know what I'm saying, for Puff, even though Puff is the only one charged right now. So the indictment's been released. I read through it, and, it's an interesting way to use the RICO. I believe they're also using the RICO for Young Thug and YSL. They're saying, more so than charging an individual with crimes. They're saying, this is organized crime. This is organizations. This is, corrupt organizations. A lot, again, how they got the mafia, they're using here. So I'm no expert, but essentially the indictment is saying is through Puff's power, his influence, through his associates, through his employees, through ultimately his various businesses, and they name the businesses: Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, Combs Global, so forth and so on. Through those companies, through those businesses, through those organizations, he was using those organizations to aid him in his crimes, and again, sex trafficking, racketeering, kidnapping charges. Before I go any further, I just want to insert my opinion here, and I want to be fair, but I want to be real. We're human beings. We read the news. We know what happens. We have feelings through this. I want to be clear on what I think. What I don't know, what I think. This is opinion. I'm a Diddy fan. I was raised and influenced on Bad Boy. I'm from Brooklyn, like big, super influential, Notorious B.I.G., super influential. Bad Boy just ran shit in the era I grew up in. But something isn't right here. And, guilty, not guilty, that's not for me to decide, but I believe there were crimes committed. I believe there are victims. Cassie, for one, we saw the video. I saw the video. I can't unsee what I saw. I happen to believe what Cassie accused Diddy of in her 2023 lawsuit. Happen to believe it. I can't account for all the details. I can't comb through the thing and say, yes, he did this, yes, he did that, no, he didn't do that. I don't know. But the spirit of what he is being accused of by Cassie, I believe, my gut tells me there's some truth here, and he obviously settled that lawsuit. There's some degree of abuse. There's some degree of crimes being committed. Now, there was another lawsuit, right? Lil Rod, the producer, filed a lawsuit following Cassie. I read that paperwork, and maybe some of those things were true too. Maybe not, I can't say. What I didn't like about the Lil Rod suit, and I read through that paperwork, was the salaciousness of it. Like, for example, and we all read this, like Meek Mill isn't being accused of any crime, but Meek Mill's name shows up in Little Rod's paperwork, and that created rumors around Meek Mill's sexuality, which is none of our business, right? Whether it's true or it's not, I don't know if it's true or not. I take Meek at his word, for this, but I thought it was just disgusting that Meek had to have his name dragged like that. Usher had to have his name dragged like that. These guys aren't committed of any crimes. Even Chris Brown's name was like, they didn't use the names, they used redacted, and then like instead of Meek Mill, this is in the Lil Rod paperwork, instead of Meek Mill, they said redacted rapper, and then in the footnotes it was like rapper from Philadelphia who once dated Nicki Minaj. Like, you have to be an idiot to not know that they're talking about Meek Mill. Meek didn't deserve that. He's not being accused of a crime. Usher didn't deserve that. So when I read the Little Rod paperwork, whether the crimes he's alleging is true or not, the way it was written to me was kind of written to reach the tabloids, to create headlines, to get people talking about it. And I guess that's a tactic to try to win and put pressure and get somebody to settle. But I didn't like how other people's names who weren't being accused of a crime were used, and kind of was like a tar and feather. I thought that was disgusting. So I don't know what to make of the Little Rod situation. And then last week, Don Richard, former Bad Boy artist, filed a lawsuit and accused Diddy of abuse. And I don't know, but my gut tells me that that there's truth there. You know what I'm saying? So, what I'm saying is there's a lot of smoke around Puff, right? The saying, when there's smoke, there's a fire. There's a lot of smoke around Puff. And now we see with this federal indictment that there's indeed a fire. So the indictment starts with this. I'll just read a little bit of it. It's all kind of legal language, right? But I'll put this on screen and I'll read a little bit of it. But count one, racketeering conspiracy. The grand jury charges for decades Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, P. D. Love, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and the others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs relied on employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. All right, point 2, it says Sean Combs, the defendant, operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global, collectively the Combs Business. So for the rest of this document, they'll just call it the Combs Business. Corporate entities in the Combs Business included, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, a television network, and a media company. So Puff has legitimate business, right? Bad Boy Entertainment is a legitimate record label, right? There was legitimate business done. Alcohol spirits business, I get, Ciroc, his apparel line, Sean John, a television network, Revolt, a recording studio, Daddy's House. I don't know what his new recording studio is. I don't think they use Daddy's House anymore. So all of these businesses were legitimate businesses that did legitimate things. Puff was a legitimate hit maker, very successful with Ciroc. Sean John, very successful. Revolt, successful media entity. What they're alleging is, and I believe more so different maybe from the mob or the mafia, where the organized crime was the business and the other businesses were the fronts. You know what I'm saying? Like you had some illegal business going on, and then you built you build a laundromat to wash the money type of situation. Here we know that Puff has legit businesses, and what they're alleging is, or what they're saying is that he's using the power in the business and the cachet and the money and the employees and the organization of those businesses to facilitate his crimes and hide it and just make the crimes happen. They happen under the umbrella of this business. So, what they're saying is, rather than charge Puff as an individual, like this is one guy doing a crime, this is an organized crime situation. I say all that to say, I wonder who else is going to be charged. Like, I wonder if other individuals will be charged. Will there be other individuals that we know? Like in some of these lawsuits, there are definitely names that pop up that we've heard of. But will Puff get all the charges, or will they actually? They're gunning for Puff, right? They're looking to take down Puff, and Puff should pay for his crimes. But I wonder if there'll be other people implicated in this, or will they pop up as witnesses to not be implicated, to not be charged. Further down, and I'm not going to go through all this, but Section 3 reads, at all times relevant to the indictment, Sean Combs, the defendant, engaged in a persistent and persuasive pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals. The abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As a part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. These are the freak-offs that everybody is talking about, right? The male commercial sex workers are prostitutes, right? So now you're paying for sex that's illegal, I think in most states. At times, Combs and others acting at his direction made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs's location. So that's now you're transporting. This is like when you start crossing state lines. You know, the sex workers' illegal activity now is crossing state lines. Like, this is when it starts to become federal. This is where the feds come in. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, so drugging them, controlling their careers. I'll make you famous. I'll destroy your career if you don't participate. Leveraging his financial support and threatening to cut off the same. So I'll give you money if you do this, and I'll keep you wealthy. But if you don't do this, we're going to cut you off. I'm going to send you back to where you came from. And using intimidation and violence. Section 4, physical abuse by Sean Combs, the defendant, was recurrent and widely known on numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years. Combs assaulted women by amongst other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. When a member of this hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Combs's violence was also not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, the witnesses to his abuse, and others. So this was the Cassie video that we all saw. I'm not gonna go through all of this. There's no need for me to go through all of this. You get the picture. It's just interesting. You look, the Cassie thing was a crime. I believe the statute of limitations had ran out, and that's why it was a lawsuit instead of a criminal investigation or a criminal charge. So he hadn't been criminally charged with anything. Up until this point, it's all been lawsuits. But as you know, the feds raided his house, right? They said they found some guns. The thing on social media is that they found 1,000 bottles of lubricants, of baby oil and lubricant, which is crazy. But they're connecting all the dots on these things, and then the facts that it crosses state lines, the fact that he uses maybe the business and the employees to facilitate or cover some of this stuff up allows the feds to feel like they have a shot now at trying this on the federal level under the RICO Act, Racketeering and Organized Crimes. It'll be interesting to see what happens. We're gonna follow this, of course, but no bail. So Puff is going to be locked up for a while because this trial is not starting anytime soon. So let's talk about it in the comments, man. Hit me in the comments, man. What do y'all think? What are y'all thoughts? Are y'all surprised? Do you think more charges are coming? Do you think Puff is guilty? Do you think he's not guilty? Do you want to reserve judgment until due process is done? We could talk about it. I'm there in the comments with y'all. All right. Peace.